Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm going to talk about what it means to have your Mercury conjunct with someone's Mars in Synastry, or their Mercury conjunct with your Mars in Synastry. This fun aspect. So this connection is very interesting in that it's very energizing to the mind. We can really feel like we've found our mental soulmate, um, but it can be a little bit frustrating as well. It kind of depends on the people and other aspects going on in the synastry, what's going to come of this one. But right off the bat with this aspect, usually you can communicate quite well and quite quickly. There's a lot of sharing of ideas. The Mercury person feels very energized by the Mars person. Like they're able to express themselves more clearly with the Mars person, more dominantly, even in some ways, with the Mars person. And the Mars person can really feel like the way that the Mercury person thinks and speaks and their ideas are really hot. Um, Especially if the Mars person is a woman, because in a woman's chart, men that are really sexy to her are shown by Mars. So in this dynamic, she is really turned on by his ideas, the way that he talks, the way that he thinks is like just really hot to her. But over time, he may actually frustrate her and piss her off because he's activating her Mars, which is like that primal sexual aggressive planet. So he can really get her motivated to act more in her life, but she can also feel like he talks too much and it's not physical enough. Like this aspect can be kind of frustrating because we have the mind and the intellect meeting with someone's more aggressive and sexual nature of Mars. So it kind of depends on the people, and also the sign that this conjunction is taking place in. That sign is going to be a major theme of this relationship. And when it's the man's Mars conjunct with the woman's Mercury, he could sometimes feel that his way that he's pursuing her in a sexual way, she's thinking about it too much. So, like, he'll come at her with his primal sexual energy, and Mars in a man's chart is how he goes after what he wants, and in a woman's chart too. But in a man's chart more so, it's his mojo, it's his mode of expression and action and how he hunts, right? He can feel like she mentalizes or she intellectualizes his primal instinct. So she can actually help him utilize his Mars in an even higher way, that he can actually go out and feel more like a man in the world with their connection. But he can also feel that he's sort of not rejected, because he's not rejected with this Mercury Mars aspect, but it's just she takes what he's giving and she turns it into a concept, when perhaps he just wanted to act on her and pounce on her, and she's talking too much. So it can show up like that in a more negative manifestation, where, she friend zones him because she loves to talk to him. She thinks, he's just a brilliant person to talk to when she's Mercury. And he can feel sexually frustrated. Like, well, no, I was actually wanting you in that way, in a sexual romantic way, and you're just being buddy with me, wanting to text all the time and talk all the time on the phone, and that's where it can get frustrating. On the reversal, like I said, the when it's woman's Mars, and this could go for whoever is the masculine or feminine in the relationship, if it's both women, both men, or whatever, it's like whoever's Mars is always the dominant force, right? Because Mars, questionably, Mars or Sun is going to be the most masculine planet. Jupiter, too, can be a masculine energy, too. But specifically, Mars is the most like masculine sexual expression. So with that, with Mercury, it can be very good. It can be very energizing, right? But those are the potential challenges. But beyond the challenges, this is a very lively interaction. This is like they immediately like feel similar. They feel like, okay, I've met someone who I can talk to and who's similar to me. And, you know, there is actually a lot of friendship in this aspect because, you know, the Mars person feels like they can express themselves and, you know, feel like the man, and the Mercury person really does understand them and get them and, you know, want to support them, want to help them kind of even better utilize that Mars energy. And then the Mercury person feels like the Mars person really lights them up and fires up their mind, and they can talk a mile a minute to the Mars person, and they can really get clear on what they actually think and become even more intelligent. Like the Mars person could be the teacher. This could kind of be like a teacher-student sort of vibe too. The Mars person can teach the Mercury person a lot, and the Mercury person can teach the Mars person a lot. So it actually is a pretty good aspect to have. It's definitely, we're very similar with this aspect, but the Mars person can be the more physical or sexual one, and the Mercury person can interpret their Mars on a more intellectual level. But either way, with this aspect, we can definitely communicate. So that, like, I mean, you have to look at the sign that it's taking place in, but usually with this aspect, we can communicate and our impulses are understood. Like the Mars person can feel very understood by the Mercury person, and the Mercury person really can communicate with the Mars person better than anyone that they have encountered. So yeah, it's a really good aspect actually to have, minus those few challenges. And you have to look at the sign that it's taking place in, right? A Mercury-Mars conjunction in Aries is a little bit different than the one in Gemini, right? So you have to look at who's stronger, Mars or Mercury. So a Gemini Mercury is stronger than a Gemini Mars because Gemini Mercury is in its rulership. A Mars in Aries, actually that's questionable because Mercury is sort of strongly placed in Aries too, but Mars in Aries is in rulership. So like that's something you can look at too, is like who's stronger in this equation? Is it Mercury or is it Mars? So like in my case with my Mercury and Gemini being conjunct with a man's Mars in Gemini, that I've found it to sort of work well and not be super annoying or frustrating. Like Mars and Gemini men like to talk, so that it kind of works, right? Now I'm just thinking about what if this were taking place in Aries. You know, that's a little bit more fiery. That's a little bit more like we could have some fighting. So even though this is a conjunction, this one can show some fighting just because there's so much energy. So the fighting is more going to be in like verbally, right? It's probably not going to be like, you know, you're attacking each other. It's just mentally you both kind of make each other feel strong, and so there can be some cutting words and harsh language in this connection. Or, you know, one manifestation, there could be a lot of dirty talking when we've got someone's Mars conjunct with someone's Mercury. So yeah, that's a little bit about this aspect. The other thing that would be really good about this aspect too is like, I don't know, I'm just imagining learning like this, because it's so activating in the mind. You could really teach each other a lot. I guess I did mention teacher student, but yeah, it's really energizing on the mind. I think it would be really good to have someone as a teacher that has their Mars conjunct with your Mercury, or your Mercury conjunct with their Mars. Both ways, this is pretty good. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this conjunction. Was it like this? Did you like it? Or was it very frustrating and annoying? Yeah, this is a fun one. It's definitely energetic. So yeah. And I'm doing a request. This was requested, so let me know, you guys, if you have any other requests for me, and I'm doing my best to do them all, slowly but surely in Taurus fashion. And I do offer one-on-one sessions. My links are below. I offer two types of sessions. I do a Synastry session where we also look at the composite chart as well. And I do a natal chart session just focused on your soul purpose. So yeah, talk soon. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.